Baby, it's cold outside.
Skiddy pop, pop, pop. We were just having a nice chat. Obviously, our man Tinds is in the jungle. Foxy hasn't seen it, but
What were you doing? Are we going for it?
well, I'm just going to ask you because I want to use this because I think it's
let's do it in
great.
the show.
Just no, we'll do it now. This is the show.
Right.
What? Just talk to me about. You wouldn't do I'm a Celeb. There must be an amount of money.
So I was lying in bed watching it with the wife last night, and she got very into it. She was like, "Oh, I'd much rather do the boat than the gangplank." I was like, "You're sort of talking as if it's an option." I'd calm down. This isn't really an option.
Yeah.
She goes, I really don't want you to do it. And I was like, again, not interested.
Well, you say that. I think you could. You're kind of quite a minor celebrity these days.
We're very minor to the point that minor enough not to be in qualification or have the interest in doing it.
But you said that some people did ask you to do something once. What was that?
I've had one invitation to do one of these things when I first started on Sky Sports News, and that was to do celebrity show jumping on Channel 5. Rising trotting poles.
I mean, what an amazing Gymkhana. I can imagine
it was Gymkhana. It's exactly what it was.
I've got a racehorse you can borrow.
You have as well. It's quite a good racehorse, though, isn't it?
Well,
he jumps quite well.
You could do celebrity Morris dancing with Alex Payne.
Is that a thing?
I think it might just be now.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've taken over. You carry on.
Fox, what have you been asked to do?
I actually got asked a few years back to do the one with Paddy McGuinness, No Likey, No Lighty, celebrity version.
Take Me Out.
Was it Take Me Out. Yeah, I got asked to do that, but I refused.
Why?
I think it was in the middle of the autumn. I think it was in the autumn, so I couldn't get that time off train. Gats. Yeah. I don't know what my talent would have been, like showing a power clean or something like that. That would have been terrible.
Or power clean a pair of pants. I'd watch that.
Well, that's true.
Jonathan Fox TV to see that. Just because we haven't spoken to you for a while since we did the kind of season launch, and I obviously very mockingly took the piss at Wales Online. Some of it did make it on Wales Online. Did you get any heat for that? Did you reconsider working with us? What was the story?
Well, it was quite ironic. Like, I think someone said 3 articles were made from one podcast.
Amazing.
Yeah, so I'm fully expecting another 3 articles at some point this week. But yeah, no, it wasn't too bad. It's just is what it is, isn't it?
But Pivac didn't get called in.
Well, I was going to say, our first 3 questions for you this week. Alun Wyn Jones, should he retire? Wayne Pivac, should he go? And Jonathan Davies, should he be captain? So there's some material to get into.
Yeah, straight in there with a hot take.
Should we? Are we recording? This is sort of one of the most sort of rolling starts. Ollie, are we off and running?
Yeah, we are. Yeah,
we are. Okay, well, let's keep going then. Hello, Dream Team. Welcome to season 3, episode 7 of The Good, the Bad, and the Rugby. Our boy is in the jungle, which means here in our studio it's sort of milk table for 2. How are you, Jim Hask?
Yeah, I'm very good actually. Yeah, very well. We've had a busy, productive morning. We're very excited. We recorded our Locked In.
Yes.
Which is a new feature that's launching.
It's lock in, like a pub.
Oh,
a pub lock-in.
What do I call it? Locked in.
Locked in. Yeah, that's something very different.
Well, that's all right. If you don't want to, if you don't want to be on that, if
we spent a lot of time on branding, and we spent a lot of time on thinking about the name, and you've got it wrong at the first
attempt. If you don't want to be
in
locked in, you can still do your lock in. It's a very different sideshow. But anyway, we've got that coming out, and we dissect Tinds' adventure in the jungle.
We do.
Had a few high-power meetings. I was on Good Morning Britain this morning, talking about Tinds.
Who are you on with? I didn't actually see that.
Ed Balls and Susanna Reid.
Wow. I mean, what a mélange à trois.
Ed Balls is very keen to knife Matt Hancock, and quite eager to get me to knife him as well on TV. But I was like, I don't really have an opinion on Matt Hancock. I'm not really interested. Only thing is, the only opinion I've got on is when he sort of kissed in the room. Just looked a bit creepy. Didn't
it? Very Partridge.
It was very Partridge kissing. I was just like, but it was just a bit grubby.
It's like you're watching Head Teacher kiss or something.
Yes, like exactly, just like a weird nerdy relative. Like you're like, even nerds have sex. You know what I mean? It was a bit odd.
Right.
I just
something for everybody, isn't it?
It was. Yeah. I just wasn't. That sort of upset me. His policies, his general malaise, fucking up COVID, and the fact he broke all the rules to one side. The kissing just left me cold. Do you know what I mean?
In tweed.
Yeah.
Just a very uncomfortable
grubby behind a room with that poor woman.
Yeah.
Poor white.
She was
but listen, maybe she absolutely loved it.
Is a hell of an aphrodisiac.
Do you reckon that's what it was?
Apparently, yeah. Corridors of power. Jim Hask is alongside. John Fox is on the box. How are you? What's happening?
I'm well. Just had a nice week off last week. Managed to jaunt away over to Palma and Mallorca for a couple of days with the wife and had a lovely time. So, yeah, all pretty chilled here in Cardiff.
Last week, we had a bit of an Ireland France love-in with Shane and Ben. It was a very highbrow show, and one or two of you actually enjoyed the fact we spoke about rugby. We've obviously got you two back this week, so we're going to have an England-Wales debrief, who I think it's fair to say need a little bit of love. Did you watch any of the rugby? Have you caught any of the highlights?
Yeah, I got back to watch the boys play on Saturday. And yeah, I got to say, like, just New Zealand looked extremely powerful from the word go. It's always tough first game in the autumn because you haven't had that much time together. And yeah, like, New Zealand is just so clinical. They don't give you any chance at all, really. And like, the boys worked extremely hard, but it just seemed that New Zealand just had all the answers.
We spent quite a bit of time last week talking about the fact the All Blacks were a fading force. I guess to show what we know on this show, it's amazing how often you can talk about the demise of All Black rugby, and the following week they come out 55 points against Wales. We'll keep talking about 1953 for a little bit longer. Just look at the weekend as a whole for us. So France win by 1 and late. England lose by 1, and obviously we'll come on to that. Wales take a bit of a hammering. Ireland win by 3 over South Africa. We have celebrated a lot recently how close it is at the top of the tree at the moment. Well done, Italy, as well. Actually, you put in a hell of a performance as well. We are seeing and we are celebrating the fact that the top of the tree is closer than ever. We are going to have results which you cannot pick coming into a weekend. It's what we want. And yet a lot of people seem to be very unhappy when the result goes against the team, despite the fact we're saying it's extremely competitive at the moment.
I think that, the mentality of a sports fan is you always want your team to win. And I think you don't ever think rationally. But actually, if you probably looked at the results, I'd love to see almost a graph of the results over the last few kind of autumns and Six Nations, how close those games are. And actually, exactly what you say, I think everyone can beat everyone at the top of the game now. I think those things are much closer, and it's kind of be expected. But when you're in it, you just don't think that's going to happen. But actually, Austin Healey has called it. He said that Argentina were going to win. He said he felt they were going to win. He said that he thought it was a very good Argentinian side, and that we were going to get caught. And losing by 1 point, expectations are very high, and I just don't think we played particularly well. But I think rugby's very close at the moment. And I think actually, if you can disassociate yourself from the kind of passion, old way of thinking, actually, it's always going to be quite close. I think it's quite good for the game, actually.
Yeah.
I think it's quite exciting. You genuinely never know who's going to win at the moment.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I would just pop a 2p in here, which is that I think everybody who's saying it's appalling that England lose to Argentina have progressed probably more than anybody in the last 2, 3, 4 years. And they've obviously had tournaments in the past, 2007, where they went well, 2015. But you feel now that they are beginning to properly establish themselves as opposed to flare and then disappear. And, they've been to Christchurch and beaten the All Blacks this year. This is not just an Argentinian side that's rocked up and taken beatings in the past. They are a vastly improved outfit. Montoya in hooker is arguably one of the form players in the world right now, full stop. And so I think when you are analysing an England performance, a team who haven't played since the summer, and obviously have had a couple of weeks together, but that's never enough like it is to play the game itself. Argentina have played a rugby championship. It's not unsurprising, I think, that England have dropped in the way that they have. What I want to go back to, though, is why you think it was as flat as a pancake, because it wasn't just you. Nick Mullins on commentary said, this is really like a Sunday service, and everybody in the aftermath has said there's just a total disconnect between whether the team are inspiring the fans are inspiring the team. Was it a Sunday outfit? Was it the rain that kept? Why was it just so flat across the board?
I think Twickenham has always been quite quiet. And again, we talked about it off air. Like every time we have one of these kind of sort of autumn international breaks, I kind of essentially say, the fans don't know what they're talking about, and Eddie Jones is great. I don't think that even comes into it at the moment. I just think Twickenham's very quiet. The mix of people in Twickenham is, different than you would find in the Principality in some of these other stadiums, and it just doesn't have the passion. I just don't think they're not necessarily die-hard fans. I think the game was very wet. I think it was a pretty slow stop-start, choppy game. There was a couple of highlights. I mean, I just remember, I think Alex Cole's one, caught the ball for kickoff. Did a nice sort of half break, that sort of break halfway through the field. I thought Jack Van Portfleet's break from the bottom of that ruck was the one bit I thought was going to ignite the game and super excited. But there's the only 2 bits that really stand out in my memory, really. And I just think the problem is it's just not very exciting then. I think they tried to play music between it, but as soon as the music finishes, there's just utter silence. And I just don't think it's the place. It's not really a particular cauldron. I just don't think it's ever going to be like that.
Do you find Twickenham an easy place to play?
you drive in and used to go through the old car park where all like the Range Rovers had the picnics and whatnot, and it was always like, come on, then, boys, let's like put on a show and get a good win here. But I think what I find different, say compared to football, I know a lot of people say like football, like supporters and hooliganism or whatever, but whenever you go to a football game, the fans sing from the moment the players walk out the tunnel. So whenever for my sins, I support Man United. Me and my brother have season tickets there. So whenever we do go up, like the crowd are into it from the word go when they walk out and they're singing songs. They've created atmosphere before the ball's kicked. And I think sometimes in rugby, the team have to ignite the crowd, like you were saying, Has, to get a reaction from the crowd. And it's like a balancing act, really. And it's I think atmosphere is one of the best parts of playing international rugby. And when you go places and as an away team, if you shut up the crowd, you've got them then, you're doing well. But then at home, if it's like, we're lucky enough, the Principality is probably one of the best atmospheres around. And, when it's loud and everyone's singing.
Why is it? Why does Cardiff put on the best international match day in the world?
I think it's because the stadium's slap bang in the centre, and you can fall out of a pub straight into your seat.
I think
where you don't have to like travel. I think one location is great, and it, like Has said, the cauldron. It is quite a high vertical stand where like a lot of others go out. So I don't know whether you lose that atmosphere then.
Do you remember Ryan Jones said that the front the front row at Twickenham is something like the 14th row at the Principality.
Yes.
So you're that much closer.
Yes, and there's a big gap between the stadium and the field in Twickenham. I think, I look at myself really. You point fingers at people. Did I really cheer? Not really. I don't really know. I was a bit slightly, I've got a bit of a cold, so I didn't running out, a bit of a pathetic excuse, but shouting England, England. There isn't really anything to say. I don't really know what you're supposed to do, and because it kind of no one's leading it. You either want some youth in there, some youth.
All right, Grandad.
No. You want some younger guys who will be cheering, who'll be singing, come what may, coming up with chants. Everyone in Wales is a frustrated, opera singer. Do you know what I mean? So they're all part of sort of roving gangs of a cappella groups and people who just, guys in blazers just singing. They all do it. We just don't have any of that. There was no songs, and I just don't know what the answer is, because with the Stade de France, at least you sort of had the lights, the music.
We were there for the Grand Slam game.
But the commentators. They were sort of shouting the players' names out and hyping it up and encouraging. But there's no hyping from the sound guy. Sorry, the master of ceremonies, the MC. The music, sort of, as soon as the music finishes, everyone stops. It's got to be just a bit of a change of mentality, really, because I don't know what the players can only go out and play. Yes, it was a very stop-start game. As I said, it's very wet. It just wasn't exciting.
The point you make, Fox, about Manchester United or about football is a very interesting one. The fans feel the responsibility to generate the atmosphere to inspire their team.
Yeah.
You definitely at Twickenham get the sense that people go and Twickenham man gets bagged, but on days like Sunday, it's clear why they get bagged. They go and they take their seat with a couple of pints of Guinness and they sit back and they wait to be entertained. And I know for a fact that England Rugby and the RFU have for many years had a real problem and a struggle and an effort to try and create the atmosphere that they want. They want it to be an electric place to go, and it just isn't that. It definitely wasn't that on Sunday. I think about the times when Twickenham has really come alive. Well, actually, it was the game against Ireland in the Six Nations, and we were there. And Charlie Ewels was sent off in the first minute, and suddenly Twickenham man thinks, well, that's not wrong. I'm going to now start. And the day and the game and the occasion was extraordinary because the crowd were engaged from the off, and they felt they had a responsibility to kind of help the team go along. It is a real, we talk about it on a macro basis. It's a problem when, we come to an autumn series and England have, got the weight of the world on their shoulders, and they start a campaign like that. It just piles. I mean, the reason I sort of talk about it is they've got so much pressure on them now that's come round off the back of just a dud opening game. I mean, how do they fix that? How do they find themselves a better form of momentum?
Well, I think you stay. I mean, Foxy can give you a view from a sort of current player. I mean, I would have said, first of all, it's not panic, which is very easy to do because, again, the knives are out. So I wouldn't really panic. I just think it was a pretty dull and uninspired performance with lots of handling errors, and probably, the game was always going to be quite close. Where were the real glaring errors? Like where did you think? I mean, I don't know, Fox, if you saw in it, like what would you markedly change to make it all suddenly flow?
It was death by a thousand cuts.
And that's what I mean. I just don't know. I don't think there is a solution. People talk about kind of making some selection changes. Jack Van Portfleet's got to start. There's a change. I'm not banging Ben Youngs. I just thought that dynamism and that little bit of something extra, and actually he was great in Australia. I would change that. Do you look at the centre, the partnership? Do you look at some of the tactics? I don't know what people think the magic wand is going to do. I mean,
a bit more anger. Will it be quite an angry camp this week?
Yes, I would say so, because if you listen to the interview from Eddie, he just, he said he was disappointed. I think it was his exact quote there, but he said, look,
he said it's hard to put a finger on. I'm not sitting here thinking we've got really strong problems within the team. For the most part, I thought we dominated the game. Do you agree with that?
I don't think anyone dominated the game, really. I thought
it was like an arm wrestle, wasn't it? Around halfway all the time.
Yeah, and there just never, there wasn't sort of any outlandish breaks. I mean, what I thought was very interesting, both defensive sides, when you look at it that high up, what you suddenly aware of is just how little space there is. That's the terrifying thing. People talk about an exciting game. When you've got 14 men on your feet the whole time, and very rarely maybe committing one extra player to a thing, so maybe 13. There was no space, and that and then those half breaks, and then it becomes down to a game of inches. The old Al Pacino quote. It literally was one half missed tackle, one mistake at a line out, a turnover, some sort of penalty, and suddenly the team's in, and it was that margin. I couldn't see where they were going to go and where they were going to cut it, unless it was some kind of broken field play, which is, I'd love to see what the kind of stats are, because Eddie always used to bang on about it. The transition from kind of open play to transition play, in that kick, and how quickly you can regather and then attack and put something together, is a side that's what New Zealand do so well.
This is the thing with this England team at the moment, though, is trying to define it and trying to analyse it is a little bit like trying to nail jelly to the wall. You just don't ever quite know what it is you're looking at. You go all the way back to the start of the year, and the game at Murrayfield, it was an absolute, deluge that they played in, and England did really well. Marcus Smith scores. You think they're on their way to an away win to start the Six Nations, and then suddenly Luke Cowan-Dickie, has a moment in the sunshine that we've spoken about, and England lose a game they were fully in control of, and from there they then lose another few, and it ends up being a really disappointing Six Nations. And sort of as they go to Paris, that they're really only there to watch France's party. You then go to Australia they then get thumped by the Barbars. They then go to Australia. They lose the first test, despite the fact Australia have a man sent off. And you're like, how have you managed to do that? And then somehow they managed to salvage the series. Suddenly they put a team out against Argentina. You think that looks properly juicy. Smith at 10. Farrell is back and playing well. Tuolangi is back and at 13. And yet they conspire to lose a game that the stats say they should have won four times over. When you look at this England team, what do you think they are missing at the moment? What is the sort of electric shock that they require to start delivering on the sum of their parts, closing out the games that you expect them to win, and just finding a bit more bite, I suppose?
I think, going back to what you said earlier, is that, the top teams seem to be beating each other quite regularly and celebrating that. And then that's probably why you're probably getting frustrated as an England supporter, because I'm not winning all the time, because the quality, it is very competitive. Like the top 8-9 teams in the world can beat each other on the day. But I think England have, they have such a big player pool. And for me, it's like, you watch the Premiership on a Saturday, and there's some big score lines, like, 33-28 or whatnot, really exciting games. I think it's the difficult thing with international rugby is that no one wants to lose. So everyone has that fear of failure instead of going out there to try and achieve things and play away, because maybe there's less pressure in the Premiership week to week. You probably get that in the URC as well. at club level, you don't feel that pressure, or like, right, you mess up on an international, it's not a good day at the office at all. You're going to be hounded or whatnot, and I think it's just England just need to, like, they have so much power. If they play at a quick way around like 9 and 10, Smith is a very talented outside half, and they could play all sorts of ways, I reckon. And it's having the ability to like mold themselves to what the game dictates. Like on Sunday, probably looking at the weather, right, boys, set piece orientated here. We're going to take it to Argentina. We're going to play in the right areas. We got Marcus with a great kicking game. Faz has a great kicking game. We'll play in the right spot. And by the sound of the stats, they did. It's just that nailing the accuracy. So I think they have the ability to play a lot of different ways.
Yeah, credit to Argentina. It's weird because you looked at the headlines, just reading off what they put here, right? Which again, are great media. So it's the newspaper Mirror: Argentina humiliate England. That was the Mirror. They don't humiliated them. I don't think it's humiliation. No. I think that's that for saying humiliation also underplays how good Argentina are. Michael Checker, fair play, coaching two sides in 1 week. The Lebanese rugby league team, and then coming in and taking over with Argentina. I thought they looked very good, Argentina. I thought, do you know what they also look like? Just quite ruthless. I thought in regards to, some of those, if you look at those stats, how often in the past would say Argentina have capitulated under some of that pressure, how some of the kind of Latin spirit might have given way to frustration. But actually, that's kind of gone from their game now.
They had great composure, I thought. I think, like, any penalties they had, they were taking 3 points. That scoreboard was always ticking over. Like, England never really got out of reach from them. They were always in their grasp. And then, like, there might have been a temptation to go to the corner, but no, when you've got a great kicker like Boffelli, you just take 3 whenever they can. And I think it was just test match winning rugby. It was just smart.
I thought Eddie Jones was very measured post-match, and I think he's absolutely right in saying, frustrating game, not good enough. We realise it's not good enough, but I'm not too panicky about it. That goes against what you're talking about with these headlines. Mirror, as you said, Argentina humiliate England. Time, sloppy England let it slip. Probably fair enough.
I agree with that, yeah.
Guardian, not good enough. Jones hits out at players as Pumas pounce. I'm not sure he hits out too much, but he's just sort of taking collective responsibility. Daily Mail, don't ferment over this. Woodward blasts awful England. Telegraph, Jones defends England flops. The question I want to ask you,
is it a flop? See, that's what I don't think England flopping again. I don't really feel like it was a flop. I think the game in general was.
It was like musical chairs, and when the music stopped, Argentina had their noses in front. The question I want to ask you is, why are the media, and perhaps actually we should be asking the media this, why are they so quick to jump on this England team? Why are the knives out for Eddie Jones as soon as England slip?
In the rooms I was in at Twickenham and the sort of talking and analysis of the game and kind of feeding the fans, with what they wanted to hear necessarily and kind of discussing the game, there's a real anti-Eddie sentiment, like really anti, in terms of not the right man for the job, get rid of him, bad selections. It's quite aggressive.
But if you pause on that just very quickly, 6 weeks ago, Ian Foster was being told to leave the New Zealand job. Gregor Townsend's under enormous pressure in Scotland. Wayne Pivac is probably having a pretty bumpy time of it in Wales right now. I mean, the only coach who's probably sitting there with a cigarette at the moment is Andy Farrell, saying life's all right. Yes. Otherwise, every single coach is under the pump right now.
Yeah, I don't really get it. I don't know why Eddie in particular upsets everybody so much.
Because he offers sharp opinions.
I know he offers sharp opinions. He also, I think, someone tried to level this against him and said, it's become too much about him and, how clever he is versus how good the players are and in his selections, and, he wants to be the mastermind.
Basically, off the back of a game like we had at Twickenham on Sunday, it's very difficult to find the editorial in it. And that's why you've got headlines like Argentina humiliate England. Well, they didn't humiliate England. No. It just sort of wasn't a very good game for anybody. Argentina.
It's an injustice to Argentina.
Stopped. I completely agree with you.
That's what I felt. But I think also when I saw the Wales score about New Zealand, my first reaction was like, wow, that must have been quite an exciting game with all those tries. People must have love it. How good. The story for Wales is the disappointment and sadness of not beating New Zealand continues. But for New Zealand, a team that were written off, that were coming on tour, that nearly lost to Japan, that again, I saw a couple of sound bites and saw some highlights from the game where they wheeled out one of the Kiwi coaches, and obviously Ian Foster hadn't spoken to the media and was saying, listen, we're pretty disappointed with how the game went. You know, we're not making excuses. We made some changes. It's not good enough. We've laid that challenge down to the lads. And you're like, oh God, you know, maybe New Zealand are on the wobble again, and then turns out they're not. They beat a good Wales side away. For you said there were 17 points.
Down after 17 minutes. Yeah.
After 17
but there were
minutes.
6 points in it with half an hour to go.
And then they kicked on, and that's what New Zealand do. You know, you blink and you're dust because they are still such a quality side.
Okay, I want to come on to the Wales-New Zealand game in depth in a moment. Obviously, you've got Argentina up this weekend as well, so it's going to be quite interesting to see what happens there.
Yeah, I've just sent 10 bottles of champagne to the Hilton for them to celebrate their win. So hopefully they have a good week.
Yeah.
Too true. Give me 3 things you did like about England this week against Argentina. Things that we can hang our hat on. Jack Van Portfleet.
Jack Van Portfleet, I thought was very good when he came on. I liked his dynamism. I liked that finish. Fair play. I thought I actually liked Joe Cocker-Singer in regards to his carrying, and I thought the interplay between the forwards on some of the carrying was nice in the wet conditions. I thought there were some nice offloads. There was a couple of nice pop passes. Sinclair again showing nice hands. They showed some endeavour to get over the gain line, which they did. Was it unbelievably exciting? No, but I thought there was definitely some thought process behind what they were doing, we just wanted to see more of it and wanted to see more bigger moments. And unfortunately, I thought Argentina defended like absolute machines, and they were on. Most of the time they spent on their feet and didn't give England any space.
The fun bit is now seeing how England react, and but Abdullah, there'll be some fairly stern words in that camp this week. Japan this Saturday, then it's New Zealand, and then it's South Africa. I wonder where on earth we will be in 3 weeks' time. We're talking about this England team. Let's move it on to Wales, though. 23-55. Lots of hope. Extinguished pretty quickly. I mean, again, you look at some of the stats here. I mean, Wales had 62% territory, only 48% possession. But just give us your view on where this Wales team are at right now.
To go down, I think 17-0, I think, to start with, and the reaction was great. And I think when they implemented the game plan, they caused problems for New Zealand. But I think it's the ability to win that battle of the game line. I think, looking back at the game, they probably want to get more momentum in their game instead of, I think at times New Zealand were able to get double shots on them to slow that ball down. When the momentum goes, then that's the most important thing about rugby these days. Once you've got it, you've got to make sure you keep it. And when New Zealand got those shots in, slowed the ball down, Wales were probably forced to kick and put pressure on that's probably where the territory came in. It's always difficult when you play such a good side first up. New Zealand, they always cause problems, and their ability to score tries from anywhere and just so accurate. I think, they might not be the highest ranked team, but they're still extremely accurate with the ball. Like the patience, like I said earlier, to go after a line break, to just take 10 phases to score. Wales will be disappointed in the defensive aspect and like to ship that many points. We probably didn't get on the ball to slow it down enough. And I think that's probably where they'll look to improve this week. Don't give Argentina the opportunity to get gain line and to be able to spread it out wide, because they are very dangerous, but they do have the power as well. So it's a very difficult game coming up this weekend, and I think they just got to make sure they play with confidence as well. Like, they're a great team. You showed that the Rio Dyer try was a great set piece. And, it takes a lot to do that, because 99 times out of 100, everyone drives that line out. But the confidence to go, right, we're going to have a go, have a crack. And, I think Richie Mwanga was defending a 13, so they isolated. They saw that was before the game. Like, that's a weak spot, and we're going to try and exploit it, and it worked. And I think it's trusting that prep in the week and delivering it on the Saturday.
To continue the cricketing analogies, you're batting quite beautifully at the moment. Here comes the bouncer. Tendai the Beast Mtamawira on Twitter. Alun Wyn Jones, it's about time to retire. A good dancer knows when to leave the dance floor. I'm sure there's a young Welsh lock waiting for his turn in the jersey. How good is Alun Wyn on the dance floor?
The difficult thing when you're not playing anymore and you've got social media, you think your opinion is gospel, and you're entitled to your opinion, but I don't believe it to be true whatsoever. There's no one harder working than Al. What he's thinking is right. If you want to come and take my spot, prove to me that you're better than me, and until Al thinks that someone's better than him, he won't give in, and that's the attitude he should be. So it is it's one of those, like, you can have your opinion, but whatever, really. I don't know. I don't.
I'll give you. I'll save from the hospital pass there on that. I think it's interesting because I love the Beast. I always find it.
He went to Ellis as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. I've got no problem with, like you said, with Foxy speaking their opinion. I'm just interested. Suggesting someone should retire off the, or move aside. I think because the intimation is that Alun Wyn Jones is only there because
of what he's done,
and that Wayne Pivac is so easily swayed that he wouldn't nominate another player. Where actually, I think that when he's not selected and when he's not good enough, he should step down. I think it's quite brave to say that somebody should just retire. I think that it's quite harsh because who are you to tell someone to retire? The Beast retired not long ago. Imagine someone said to him, "Come on, mate, it's time for you to go." Like, I think that's kind of, he's forgetting probably what it was like for him to move on. Maybe he did it as a very easy transition for him.
He did off the back of World Cup.
Yeah, well, fine. That's what I mean. And that's quite nice.
Very few people get the chance to do that.
That's what I mean. But for me, I struggle. It is a movie. Yeah, it is. It's a movie. Kind of, it's a golden sort of exit. If he told me to retire off the back of a loss, I'd be quite upset about that, because I was like, mate, that's not something you take lightly, and it's not something that you would just move aside for. I think it's a bit harsh. I would say, first of all, if those blocks are good enough, they need to stand up and compete. I think you should never tell a player when it's time to retire and time to move on. I think that's quite a flippant thing, because when he is done, that will be done. And I don't think the Beast probably meant it in any way, shape or form. And I really like him. I think it's just an interesting choice. I just think it's an interesting choice for an ex-player who's not retired that long ago to come out and say that. I think you say maybe he should be dropped or wasn't a good man, but telling him just to jog on, and even in the politest way possible, which he did. He didn't say he's shit. He just said, "Look, it's probably time to move on." It's a bit odd, really. I think. Not that.
It's a cheap shot. I think it's a bit of a cheap shot. I don't know whether, like you said, he's actually thought about what his words are going to sound like. He probably thought that dancer. He probably thought that dancer analogy was a great one. Oh, I got to share that.
I'm not sure we've sort of solved the ills, but I think we've probably tried to put a bit of context on where. I don't know what have we.
I think rugby's actually is an exciting place. I think I love the fact that Ireland keep winning.
Well, I was going to ask you about it. So I'm going to have a quick word on Ireland, and obviously, but this is the extraordinary thing: is that South Africa missed 7 points off the tee. They kick 4 of those. They beat Ireland, and suddenly Ireland, as the number 1 team in the world, have got problems. It's very hard, and maybe that's a good thing, because we care a lot about the results of our teams. But it's very hard to find any sort of rationale in any.
There isn't. I don't think sport is rational, and I think that's what you got to. That's the one learning you take away from this show. Is there is no rational. There's no rationality to anything with sport. Nothing's guaranteed. Nothing's given. What happened today bears absolutely no resemblance to what's going to happen tomorrow. Form is a myth. Ultimately, it's in regards to guaranteeing a team's going to win. Actually, I think in the modern era, it comes down to much more mental preparation in the week, and the performance on the day. I think you could have won a number of consecutive games, and that one team can beat you. I think the positives for me are that there's lots of excitement going on. Seeing Ireland win against Africa, such a close game. Seeing France continue their legacy.
Did you see the try to win it?
Yeah,
Damien Payno.
Yeah.
I mean,
but that's what I mean. That there is that real excitement there, and fair play to Australia. Australia weren't in a great place. They've come back and done pretty well recently. They're looking. I mean, the try that they scored from the end of the world, as they're calling it now, was insane. That as a purist is very exciting rugby. You've seen Argentina come to Twickenham and we haven't won in 16 years. Right, and we're talking about disappointment with England. I think we should be talking about our, credit to Argentina. 16 years of never winning a place. How shit is that? Imagine the shoe was on the other foot. And we hadn't won for 16 years. We fucking blow the doors off. Fair play to them. They beat England. Everyone beats everyone. Japan almost beat New Zealand last week. and then the world would have really ended. And then, are they going to beat England this week?
But exactly the point you're making here is that if Damien Penaud gets tackled and France lose to Australia, who the week before had scrambled home against Scotland, you can just see the French media just saying, "Oh my God, we're imploding." 10 months out from World Cup, but this is it. Is it? It's just so reactive. Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
I can't put my finger on it.
You can't. It's like trying to nail diarrhea to a wall. I wouldn't do it. I would just honestly.
Or jelly for the family-friendly viewers.
Have we got any family-friendly viewers?
Not with you around. No.
I would honestly say that all the camera guys are all like freaking out because I said he's trying to like nail diarrhea to a wall.
Or jelly.
Or jelly. I mean, or custard, or whatever. I would say actually, don't try to get a handle on it. Don't try and define it. Don't try and box rugby in. Don't try and label it. Just honestly, just ride the constant wave of emotion, but try to keep a rational head on. That's what I mean. There's no point trying to do it. If we're heading in the fast lane in the swimming pool, right, and we're just reacting and enjoying and celebrating the good moments, I would say the journalists are probably in the medium lane. Some of the fans are in the slow lane. They're bogged up in the minutiae. They're getting freaked out about kind of. The scandals and individual moments and harping on about bad referee decisions and, crying over spilt milk and getting caught up with Eddie Jones as the right man. Just ignore all that and just roll on to the next weekend. What the fuck's going to happen this weekend? Who's going to win? Because it really is that much of a roller coaster. Who's going to get red carded? What's going to happen? Are the wheels going to fall off? Like that's how you're going to live your life in sport. Don't worry about any of it too much because it honestly doesn't make any difference. I would honestly just much rather be in the fast lane. Are Wales going to beat Argentina? Will they come back? Will Alun Wyn Jones absolutely stick 2 fingers up to the beast? That's what you should be worried about. Don't worry about anything else. It's pointless. I genuinely think it's pointless.
And if you go to Twickenham, make sure you make some noise for a change.
Bring your clappers.
But I wondered with that, do you reckon they, if they got those big screens, if they did sing-alongs like Sweet Caroline, they had the little ball that bounces along like the karaoke.
Yeah, I love that, yeah.
But you filled the lower tier, right? You couldn't do this, but you filled the lower tier with a load of students like they do at the Highlanders.
Is the Argentina game is open. I mean, you can blame Barberman for England, New Zealand and England, South Africa because they're debenture holders and they get their automatic tickets. But England, Argentina was general sale.
Yeah.
So that's where you expect your kids and your fans and your flags. And
I tell you what they should have done. I mean, again, I don't think because obviously the players are released back to pay for their clubs. But I say if they weren't, I think all the England players that weren't involved should be doing meet and greets around the stadium, signing fans with autographs. There should be bands in the stadium. There should be sing-alongs. People should be given flags, hooters, horns, whatever it is, and just and vuvuzelas. Make the whole thing a massive spectacle. Get some celebs walking around the field. Get players from other sports like the NFL do.
You on the decks.
Well, yeah, me on the decks if they can afford me. Whatever.
You
really.
on the roof.
Imagine that though. I got the decks and started playing a song. Just some bloke came out with a barber and a Guinness. Oh, will you shut the fuck up? Will you just fuck off? Because that's exactly what will happen. But imagine that though. Imagine that as a spectacle. So you get this. So the gates open at 11. The whole ground is buzzing. There's tunes, flags, meet and greets, signing. You get celebs from other sport, offer them cool tickets, walking around the field, waving to the fans, sing-alongs, proper music. The MCs hyping up the people's names. There's fireworks, there's light shows. Real common denominator.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
that'd be good.
Real feed in the masses. Just that common denominator crap to really hype them up. And then let the game, and then big fire. Would you remember the big fireworks before the games? All that kind of mist that used to go, because now some kids got asthma in the crowd, we can't do it. If little Timmy passes away, who cares?
I think little Timmy's got far too big a say in what rugby's trying to do at the moment.
That's what I mean. Don't worry about it. We want fireworks, light shows, lasers. If Jonty gets blinded because a laser goes rogue, it's collateral damage. Nobody gives a shit. Let's go.
Think of the bigger picture, Jonty.
That's what I mean. And also get the guys with the trumpeters, get people in fancy dress, get as a bloke dressed as a dinosaur, getting the crowd going, getting them holding up signs. Just turn it into a fucking absolute melee.
Hask, were you playing the game when the Principality did the laser show before the game?
Yes.
So we did the warm up. And you stayed in the change rooms or something like that.
Yeah, Chris Robson was like, "We're not bloody coming out. Fuck off. No, we're not coming out." No, but okay. So Principality Stadium, right? Let's picture this pre-match. Okay, you get into the stadium. the Welsh, they're shitting in their hands and they're throwing it at the bus, right? You got people going fucking mental, right?
Throwing
mental.
goats at you.
And then you go into the stadium, right? They send a 700-piece brass band, right to the middle of your warm-up area, right? The Welsh, they've got too much space. This brass band, they've got this goat thing that's done so much gear, right? It's just like a vein with a face. It's got horns. It's fucking massive. They lead that through. Nobody can warm up because they're terrified if it's going to break loose. You've got 400 old blokes in blazers with voices like angels, just fucking singing. Right, so everyone is shit-faced.
Yeah.
You've got big screens, hyping. They're a foot away from the crowd. Everything's going completely mental. You're shitting yourself before you get in there. You know, they're piping music into the changing room. You know, honestly, it's like mental torture. It's what they were doing at Guantanamo Bay, just headphones on with Welsh people just singing in your head. Yeah, singing in your head. And that is an environment. What more do you want? Every time you go near the touchline, oh, fuck off, you prick, you're fucking out. You're like, hello. You know, that's what you want. You know, that's what you want. And it's their evening games sometimes, real buzz. Twickenham, you know, come on. I don't think it's a problem.
Don't do games on Sundays.
Don't do games on Sundays.
No,
Friday night lights, Twickenham, just blow the doors off. I don't see it, and it's not that hard to do. I just don't think that's what we need to do. If the Welsh can do it, we can do it. We've got all the cash. Do you know what I mean? Joking.
Yeah, you can get all the cash.
Yeah, all the cash.
You've taken as that. Elsewhere, Scotland beat Fiji. Dire first half, but Scotland did enough. Finn Russell is back because Adam Hastings has.
I don't know what.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall for that one. I tell you, the ones to keep an eye on at the moment are Italy, 49-17 over Samoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good result, that.
Jake Pelledri's back, isn't he?
Jake Pelledri's back.
Looking good. See, I do watch
Kieran
rugby.
Crowley's team are beginning to just get a little bit of.
Do you remember they beat Wales as well?
All right. Keep it calm.
Yeah, wasn't playing that one. Didn't play that one.
No. Where are you at with it? Are you waiting for a call? Are you in dialogue?
What have you done?
No, look, I think I had a conversation with the coaches, and like I know I haven't played well enough to put my own hands up, so I'm taking care of my own house. So I've had a dialogue with them, but got to make sure I'm playing half decent first. I got to deserve it. So.
I had this vision of like, you know that the movie Anchorman where it first starts, where they're trying to talk about employing the first female news anchor, and they're all like rotating around the desk, just like banging on it. Go, damn it, Jeff. Damn it, you know. He goes, I heard the periods attract bears. Did you hear that? They attract bears. Do you want that? I can imagine you just coming in there. Damn it, Wayne. Damn it, I can play. No, you can't. I'm good enough. You're not. Okay, I'll see you later. Just, I'd love to see if he was like that. Really.
I walk in with a grenade.
Come on, fucking. Yeah, imagine that, Wayne. Come on, mate. Do you want to fucking die? Pick me. I'll pull the pin out. It's you or me, baby. I would love that.
Right. Last but not least, 2-3 bits to round off this week's show. Our favourite pizza makers are back in the building. They've had a fair amount of extra coverage this year, courtesy of the Lord, who wasn't endorsing Domino's on his own. He was part of Good, Bad and Rugby, but the dear journos, managed to sort of ignore that and just make it about him. It is time for our Domino's Doughballer of the Week, where we pick our standout performer from last weekend's rugby. He's better looking in real life. Shall I chuck some names at you? Boffelli, 25 points at Twickenham. Damien Payno with the wonder try. Ardy Surveyor for one of the game's greatest dummies. And Jimmy O'Brien, who came from nowhere to play a pretty key role for Ireland as a sort of makeshift international 13. Well done to him. Any of those light your fire for a £50 Domino's voucher for our Dough Ball of the Week, Fox?
Well, 25 points in international is pretty impressive. And with the pressure kicks, so yeah, Boffelli, I thought was outstanding.
Boffelli for you. I think Boffelli.
Listen, Wayne, pick me for this weekend, will you?
You need to turn the microphone.
Listen, Wayne, I'm not being fucking funny, right? I've been on holiday, I've got my tan, I've had some tapas, I want to fucking play. I can beat Argentina, one-man band. I've told Alan, fucking retire. Agree with the bees, fuck them all. Do as you told Wayne, or I'll pull the pin out of the grenade, bud, all right?
For our audio listeners, just bear with us. Okay, we'll give it to Emiliano Boffelli, and hopefully in doing that, if he tucks into the pizza before the game against Wales, that will slow him down a bit and therefore help our friends across the bridge.
Yes, and
tactical dough balling this week.
Yes, it is tactical. And I would say, like, I've got a massive man crush on Ardy Surveyor. He's such a good player.
He is. Quite good fun to interview him, actually, at some point.
We wanted to interview him for a long time.
He'd be good value.
He is an incredible player and man.
We are still banned from eating pizza on the show, which is good news for everybody. So we have got an offer We're going to enjoy our pizza a bit later on, but we've got an offer which is 50% off all Domino's until the 13th of November. Check out our socials. Foxy, you're obviously an elite athlete, so we'll get a pie sent to you instead. We will enjoy the pizza a little bit later on. Thank you, Domino's, for your support. Emiliano Boffelli is our dough baller of the week.
Could you, if you do get it, I mean, we do it, and I know I said it, made it sound like we weren't going to actually send it to you, like it's all just talk. But when we do send Boffelli the pizza, can you, if you're listening to this, mate, just take a photo of it with the pizza?
Marley Packer said that she's very much going to enjoy it when she gets back. Hopefully the World Cup wins medal from last week. Well, she was our dough baller last week.
I want to see her eat the pizza. I want to see it actually gets there. Do you know what I mean? Because I think it'd be good to know we actually deliver on what we say.
That's very true.
Send it Friday night.
Send it Friday night with a car alarm at 2 a.m. Another quick note from our friends and our partners at NordVPN, who are offering the good, the bad, and the rugby listeners an exclusive deal to protect your internet connection and privacy online. Something that we are very passionate about for obvious reasons. NordVPN has loads of great features. Hask, perfect for you when you're traveling, protecting your data and actually your music as well. Online music. Are you worried about that?
Well, I actually lost one of my USBs the other day.
I'm not sure if NordVPN
they can't. Yeah, they can't.
That's
they're
idiocy.
Good. They're good. I actually used it in Dubai. Genuinely used NordVPN in Dubai last weekend to watch some Netflix while I was in bed.
NordVPN have come for some high quality endorsement, and that's what they've been left with. So hopefully you've enjoyed that. But do check them out. Great value. Just the price for a cup of coffee per month. Grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/goodbadrugby. You will get a huge discount on your plan. 4 additional months for free. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Don't say anything, Hask, because we're going to move swiftly on to the women's semi-finals in Aotearoa. I hope you watched it. I mean, actually, fun enough, we were talking about lack of space on the field at Twickenham on Sunday. I'm going to go out here and say the best game of the weekend was that France-New Zealand semi-final. It was unbelievable. Because there is space, there is a willingness to attack. Therefore, if you're not doing anything this Saturday morning, make sure you tune into the Women's World Cup final. England are in after a bruising encounter against the amateurs of Canada. Well done, Canada. Actually, you were unbelievably brave and spirited. England faced New Zealand, though, after the Black Ferns scraped past France in an extraordinary, dramatic semi-final. Fly half Caroline Drouin missing a last-minute penalty to take them through. Quite incredible.
In front of the
Black
post
Ferns
as well.
Well, it was a long way out, but she hit it like a bag of sand. It's a little bit like me off the tee.
I mean, listen, I can't kick at all. So what I meant was, though, it's when you think about kind of moments, and everyone's moved on from that. You think psychologically, I always wonder what's going through her head now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, how long does that stay with you for?
Yeah.
It's weird.
Well, how often do you think about moments? How often do you think about moments in your career?
A lot.
Do you?
Yeah.
Genuinely?
Well, okay. I mean, I say a lot. I was probably just egging it out for the show. It will drift into my mind. Like someone mentioned something at Twickenham the other day about the Premiership final, and I thought about that break I made, and I didn't score. That irritated me. And then you think about
that was a European Cup final.
European Cup final. Sorry, making mistakes and all the. Yeah, I do think it comes. It comes back to haunt you occasionally. Every now and then you get a little flashback. But again, I never had to make real pressure decisions. Like kicking, it's a selfless task.
How often do you think about Owen Farrell kicking the ball into your head?
That I think a lot. I think about running in the post a lot.
Yeah.
I think about the strangling Joe Marler a lot. Because basically people constantly remind me
I am the referee, not your coach.
Yes. Oh, that. I tell you why I think about that all the time is because Six Nations, the person who runs the social media for Six Nations, has obviously got nothing to do apart from just regurgitate that one clip. And I kind of feel like they should be paying me royalties because they're just whoring me out to get views and then just to create a conversation.
How often do you think about taking Jamie Roberts' head off?
I feel bad about that a lot because I think about him accidentally taking his head off, and then the fact that remember he quoted saying that he could taste spinal fluid in his. Do you remember?
Was that off yours? Was that off you?
That wasn't off
somebody
mine.
played with a broken neck.
Yeah, that wasn't. No, that wasn't. That was.
He clashed heads with Mortlock, didn't he?
Yeah. And he said he could taste that sort of spinal fluid. Now, being a doctor, I think he's got a bit of hypochondriac about him, Jay. Like, you know what I mean? Apparently, like self-diagnosed, wouldn't he? He'd come off and go, grade 2, continue, and walk himself off.
Yeah, we were playing England in 2012, and before half time, he goes, "Mate, I've blown my knee. My knee's gone, blown it." I was like, "All right, come on, dig in now." Half time, he comes off, and that's when Scott Williams scores a try where he rips it and kicks it on and scores. And then, obviously, we win the Triple Crown that game. There's a sniff of a Grand Slam bonus, like. 2 days later, he's back running. Like he was like, right, I'm good to go. I'm not missing a game yet.
Yeah, self-diagnosed. Do you know what I mean? So I remember that. So I do feel bad about that because, I wouldn't want to ever hurt anyone intentionally, and I didn't mean to. So I do think about occasional things. And I think about things I've said.
Xing Shong.
I don't really give that a thought. Every time I see Will Greenwood, I think of that because I think about you bastard. You just didn't.
Well, I
react.
bailed you out, but that never gets put out.
No,
on the footage.
I do. That I see every time I see Will Greenwood. I was like, you watch me talk utter shit live on TV and just nodded as if everything was perfectly normal and didn't once go, James, are you okay?
Stepped away from the smell.
Yeah, he just didn't. And then I got on that, and then embarrassing, I just got off and pushed that lawnmower doing my suit. They said that why don't you just do the lawnmower and mow the field as if it was part of it. So basically, I'd had a meltdown, talked utter shit, got accused of being drunk, high, and then to top it all, to the pièce de résistance, they then segued me into just mowing the field.
A couple of Twickenham post-matches where that was fairly accurate.
Yeah, and that was, I think about those moments every now and then, but don't keep me up awake at night. I just wondered when I saw a picture of her looking dejected. You know, all I ever think of is, the movie Not Waterboy.
Watership Down.
No, not Watership Down. No, I think about Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, and Ray Finkel laces out, right? And went completely mad.
Einhorn is Finkel.
It's
Finkel is Einhorn.
Einhorn. I think about that French woman. Do you reckon 10 years from now she'll just be living in a cabin with like a name scrawled on a wall, like "You should have made the penalty" in French?
Yeah.
And I wondered whether that will haunt her for life or not, or whether she'll get over it. I hope she does. That's how my mind goes.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure that will have helped Caroline, but I hope wherever you are in the world, Caroline, don't take it to heart.
No, that's what I mean. It's only a game. It's only
a game. So
don't worry about the king.
This is. I mean, we have shit endings to our shows, but this really is taking the biscuit. Let's move it on, because to look ahead to the final, here is The Good, the Scaz and the Rugby with Elma Smith and Kiwi journalist Alice Soper. Hello, ladies.
Yes, that's right, Alex. They've only gone and got into the final. Hello and welcome along to The Good, the Scaz and the Rugby in partnership with Vodafone. Two absolutely box office semi-finals over the weekend. If you didn't already know, box office. There's no better way of putting it. Canada brought it to England, as we hoped they would. Didn't quite have enough to get the win. England still scoring 26-19 to take them into the final 30-match unbeaten run. New Zealand, France has to definitely go down in history as the best women's rugby match I've ever seen, anyone's ever seen, eyeballs have seen, has ever happened on a pitch anywhere with an oval ball. Last minute penalty for France, all of the drama on earth. People had their faces in their hands all over Eden Park because they thought, this is done. Caroline Drouin is just going to clear this, and then France is into the final. And then she missed one that she would never usually miss. And it was the cherry on top. And it was just the most intense viewing experience of my life, very early on a Saturday morning. So to discuss all of this and to look ahead to this week's final, we have New Zealander Alice Soper, who's been covering this tournament. She's the highest energy women's rugby critic in all of the game. She describes herself as a rugby player and human firework. And this is very accurate. She wants to connect and champion our game. What's not to love? She's a member of the Strategic Advisory Group and now a trustee for Women in Rugby Aotearoa. She does not mess around. Alice Soper, have you stopped crying since Saturday?
Hey, now I feel like I need to clarify this because I said this to Birth. I happened to bump into her afterwards. I wasn't actually crying about the Black Ferns. I was crying thinking that we'd missed the opportunity to be in the final. And I was crying because I thought, now all the articles this week are going to be about how it's a bit of a flop at the finish because I don't trust our New Zealand audiences. We haven't done enough to develop them here to turn up and fill the stadium. So I was crying before the kick happened, and it was saying we've missed this opportunity. And then, of course, the tears turned into joy when she kicked it straight to me because I was behind the post. So she must have seen me, seen how sad I was, and like, oh, we'll cheer her up.
I love how much ownership you take. And that's been like something that just comes through in your work at all levels. If you don't follow Alice Soapbox on any platform, any digital platform, then you might not know this. But this woman is insanely productive. I mean, I make content for a living and I just watch the amount of stuff you churn out and go, have we checked whether there are two of her? Because I mean, the scale at which you just like are constantly making things. Have you slept at all during this tournament?
Or not enough, which is why this voice is a bit huskier than normal. Like I tend to have a bit of a rasp, but it's getting a little bit more dramatic. I just bloody love it though, Elma. Like this is I'm a kid in a candy shop, right? Like I have loved women's rugby. I've played for 20 years now. The idea to get to have it at home, and this is the first World Cup I've been able to attend. You know, I've been working, and they've been on the other side of the world, and it hasn't been achievable for me to get there. I've never had the privilege as a player. So I have got to go to one, got to host one, got to meet everyone. I think that's the thing that I didn't realize, like how cool it would be, was just how many amazing legends of our games were going to turn up and be this in the stands, right? Like, yeah, I knew the rugby was going to be good, but you can watch that at home. It's all the history that is actually happening in the stands. That's the stuff that just, totally fills my cup.
What I love is that you've really gone out of your way to bring the women that brought us here into your content. So you're not only hyping up the Stacey Falulas and the Ruby Tuies, and you're not only speaking to the fans at the grounds, which I've loved to see because I'm all the way over in England, but you've really gone out of your way to tell us more about these women and their stories and why the number ones of both New Zealand and England, like the Black Fern number one and the Red Rose number one, both have surnames with an A because they were allocated their numbers on alphabetical order because no one quite knew how to do those allocations, and all of those one-on-one conversations with people that honestly, if you're not there, you're not going to have these. What's been your favorite ones?
Yeah, look, I'm just so hungry about understanding more about where we've come from, because we don't get to moments like this, sellouts at Eden Park, by accident. There's been lots of situations along the way that have built us there. And I got really passionate about this stuff after one of my rugby mums passed away when I was playing in England. So I played in the first 2 years of the English Premiership. I was at Richmond. And Tia Pussy, who was a prop that played for New Zealand, but was an absolute legend of our local club scene, she passed away. And a couple of things frustrated me about that. The first was that they wrote up an article about her, but it was insultingly short, like a couple of lines. And, a couple of things there. It's like, talk to a couple of us, call up a couple of the old girls. They'll be able to tell you a story. Don't go to the All Black website. It's not going to give you the whole picture. So it's just a couple of lines. But the other thing that really struck me is she'd played in our club scene for such a long time. And I was like, with her gone, all that history that's in her head has now disappeared. And I think that's where things kind of changed for me, that I started getting really keen to just try and, honestly, for my own purposes, be curious about who it was that came before me. Because I always think, if you're a fan of Kendra Coxedge, you've got to be a fan of Emma Jensen, because she was before her. And if you're going to be a fan of Emma Jensen, you've got to be a fan of Monique. Like, these are a line of people that influenced each other. And we have to understand, why is it that England plays like this? Why is it that New Zealand plays like this? What is it that makes us unique? Because that's not coming from our unions. That's coming from the women that built this game, because they did, For most of the time, we were told, don't do it. And we did it anyway.
You've spoken to a few really interesting women. And if you haven't been following the women's game, maybe Mary Fitzgibbon or Jill Burns or Jackie Apiata, those names don't ring bells for you. But which of those interviews that you've done with iconic women who have gotten us to this point have had the biggest reaction? Like, where have you seen something get picked up? Because sometimes we make content that lives on social media, and then you look back on something and you're like, geez, look at this thing go. People are responding to it.
Yeah, it's interesting, eh? I don't know. Like, I think probably it's actually a clip from an event that I had the privilege of doing just before the World Cup kicked off. And so I managed to get Vicky Dombrowski, who is the first woman and only woman at this point to have coached the Black Ferns back in 1994. Wow. I managed to get Jerry Paul, who's a good friend of mine, absolutely adored Jerry. She played in the 1991 World Cup. She played all the way up until 97. We had Dalith, who was the president of the Welsh Women's Rugby Union and also played for Wales, and was there when that merger happened between the Welsh Union and the Women's Union, and she tells a great story about them tricking two parts of them into paying the whole thing. Where she went to the president of the Welsh Union and said, if I can get half the funding for a women's director, will you pay for it? He said, oh yeah. Then she goes to one of these other blokes and goes, if I can get half the funding, we pay for it. She said, yeah, puts them in the room, and they're like, oh no, we've been hornswoggled. And then England's Paula Georgie, who was, captain of the Red Roses. And getting those women together, it's like I knew elements of their stories, but I also didn't know where those things wove and overlapped. And that's the power of getting these people together in a room. And I think my most exciting moment in that was when Dell told a story about how Georgie had been a trader, because they're both from the same small town in Wales, and how she'd flipped over to play for England, and they were going to be playing a match between England and Wales back in their small town, and they played the same position, and she was like, I'm ready. This is my chance to take this woman out and do it for Wales. And then she got dropped that week.
First person history, just asking people for their stories and letting them tell you. Sophie de Goody is a current player. I mean, absolute stalwart of the Canadian team. If you haven't been watching, she's their number 8. She's their captain. She's their goal kicker. She's their true north. She's absolutely everything. And she comes, I mean, she's royalty. Is there Canadian rugby royalty? Because she would be the crown princess of it.
I don't know if you can think of anyone in any sport that has been, raised for that position, has been a familial connection to be able to in there. So her dad, Hans de Goody, he captained Canada here in New Zealand in 1987. So she's got New Zealand captaining experience. Now add to that, she has her mums. And so Steph de Goody, she was the first captain of Canada in 87, then in 91, and then in 94 as well. So not only did she captain the team during that pivotal time, she actually set up a foundation which helps fund the program today. She did that after the 2014 World Cup. And this is why I'm more excited about the history in the stands, because we've got players on the field right now and they're doing amazing things playing the game. But I want to see in 10 years' time how many of those players still end up turning up in the stands, because then they're going to be the ones to talk to, because they're going to have taken that influence on the field off it as well. And that's what you see in someone like Steph's story,
Now, let's talk about the game. Wayne Smith, in the post-match interview, said at halftime, he told the Black Ferns they needed to kick a bit more and get in behind France. He's spoken about the fact that they just want to run the ball. They just want to attack and carry. Like he says, he doesn't understand why they don't want to kick. He has to keep telling them to kick more. But let's talk about that second half strategy the Black Ferns employed in order to get them home in the end. That kicking game, high risk strategy, and just the intensity that they came out there with.
It was very, very stressful as a fan. I'm trying to do this impartial wrap-up stuff for World Rugby afterwards, but I'm sitting there going, how am I going to, this is, all I want to say is, because that's all that game was. There were moments there where I'm like, it would be nice if you had a structure, because we just seem to be doing, searching runs out of our 22, and we're just searching and searching and searching. I was like, imagine if you had a pattern. But hey, it works, right? And I think it's this whole thing of, it's because it's playing naturally to the strength and the way that we play here. We're not overly structured. You say you have to tell people to kick. It's because most of the time we don't have a kicker in our team. Nobody learned how to do that. We don't have football as our basis, right? We started by playing touch in the playground. So we're used to having the ball in the hand and being a bit cheeky. So the idea that you would kick the ball away, well, why would you do that?
The line from, once again, Wayne Smith, where he says he was a little bewildered about the kind of temperament on the team bus, because he's so used to the All Blacks and the way everyone go really sullen and quiet and really drawn into themselves on game day. Everyone's got their headsets on and they're very, focused and quiet. The Black Ferns, when they're focused, are not quiet at all. They are chatting, they're dancing, the music's blaring, there's tons happening. It's just, isn't that just so women? They're our way of focusing and our way of getting ready for a game is just in the fibre of our being is communal. It's not individual.
Absolutely. And I think it also speaks to the culture that built women's rugby. I have a clip that I've been waiting to share because, every now and then the feedback we get is too many TikToks, not focused enough on rugby, right? And I've got a clip of the 1991 team post-match voguing after a celebration. I was like, we've been dancing since day one, But I think the culture, right? Men's rugby in New Zealand is still inherently Pākehā, so white. It was built by settlers in New Zealand, whereas women's rugby was built by community, and so it's much more reflective of that. I'm generally in the minority in my teams, being one of the only white girls that's in my side, particularly in the forward pack as well, right? So, and where I'm from, there's a huge Samoan influence in Wellington. There's also, Tongans, Fijians that all play, and a few Māori. In other parts of the country, there's a lot of Māori that play. That comes as well with like a different cultural underpinning, right? It's not about that individual, it's that collective that's built into who we are as players and teams. And that's what I was so drawn to as a young player. I was like, if this is your family and they'll really look after you. And so I think like that always catches blokes off.
I love what you're saying about the origins of the game, because in South Africa that is echoed in South African women's rugby also doesn't have that white history. It's a lot more community based, and it's so much more diverse and reflective of the real makeup of society, which is beautiful. But to get back to the energy, the Black Ferns during the match, during the anthems before the match, we're all standing there smiling. I mean, Portia Woodman, in the 62nd minute, waiting for a penalty to be taken, is standing there singing, dancing, just, vibing, taking it all in. When I see that, I feel like as an England fan, if they pitch up at the final, vibing, if the Black Ferns stand there during the anthem, smiling and looking genuinely joyful, like I would be shaking in my boots, because that's a bad sign for any of their opposition.
It's total mind games, but I don't think intentionally.
No.
I think they're just honestly having fun. They're loving it. I was asked this on Breakfast TV yesterday, and they were surprised. They were like, aren't they going to be feeling pressure? I was like, no, they're going to be lapping it up. We never get this opportunity. We have to remember too, we've won however many World Cups, but we've always done it in front of a hostile crowd, right? We've never had our people, our family in the crowd for us. Like it wasn't until 2004, I think, that I saw my first Black Ferns game on TV. Like it took a long time for us to see us. We know we're the best, but we've never seen us be the best.
You say that about a hostile crowd, but what if Claudia McDonald and Abby Dow pull a screamer like they did on the weekend, and suddenly people start worrying?
That try was unreal, right? Like in such a pivotal moment in that match. I think this is the thing where we need to mature a bit as an audience. I think we have a tendency in general, right, to kind of sit back and entertain me. And we don't tend to make a lot of noise until something good's happening. And I think that's where we need to have taken the lessons of all the different countries that have visited our grounds and pick up on their energy. You hear the Canadians, nothing's even happening in their Canada, and the same with Leila Blur, and the same with Fijiana, and New Zealand meanwhile is like, oh, when there's a tackle, we need to get a little bit more excited about it. So, hey, we got there in the end with a rather feeble, let's go Black Ferns, let's go. But I think we can maybe come up with something a little bit better and make sure that when it's up, when it's down, we're making the noise and we're bringing the heat for our girls.
Now, the Black Ferns game and their win over France, as I said, I still stand by it, best women's rugby game ever, because it was insane entertainment. But the team of the semi-finals for me has got to be Canada. And I feel like no one's talking about the fact that an amateur team, they are not professional, turned up and faced the most successful sporting side on earth right now. They pitched up and they knew they were outmatched in terms of resources by a country mile. They knew that they were facing up to the team who came into this tournament hot favourites, and they did not give an inch. I saw Will Owen tweet that if you are Rugby Canada and you're watching this, you have got to be going, you know what, where's all of our chips? Let's go get them, and all of it on red. Because imagine what these girls could do.
it's unreal, eh? And not just like the resource issues, also the geographic issues. Canada's huge,
It's
like
insane.
it's so much to be pulling people from all over. And I think I saw a piece where Sophie had been interviewed. She was talking about how their coach had put the number up on the wall of how many days they were going to have together versus the other teams before the World Cup. And I want to get into the secret sauce, which is how they managed to build that connection, Like I've been saying it the whole time. They were my tournament team because 1 through 32, such a unit. Like other teams, you can go, this is their linchpin, this person sets this off. But Canada, it's just that whole cohesion that they have. And not just that, their rolling maul was the best in the tournament. I'm going to keep saying it. I know England loves theirs, but how does a hooker get on the top of the try scorer sheet unless your rolling maul is working well? But I wonder too, this question about pivot from amateur to professional, I think there's still some thinking that we all need to do around that. I think we've gone really quickly. We want equity with the men. And don't get me wrong, I always want the same as, the best that we can get. But I think that there's things that we can do in terms of taking stock and learning from that experience. I know we're seeing it right at the moment over in the UK with how those premiership clubs are having some trouble. We've seen it in New Zealand with how we've said, actually, the place that rugby used to hold in New Zealand's hearts has kind of moved away. And it's a lot of the stuff that's been lost through professionalism is that joy, is that passion, because it becomes a job. And so I think that there's a little bit more work that we need to be doing around thinking. Let's not just copy and paste what we've done in men's programs into women's programs. Let's have the chance to do different, to maybe try some stuff that we'd like to try in the men's game, but it's now too kind of set with all these contracts and funds and all of this. Let's be creative here, because I don't think that HPU, high performance units, are really working world over. I don't know what the situation is with you, but here in recent years, we've had about 5 reviews into different high performance spaces with people being mistreated and mental health issues and different things like this. And we've always had that. In the past, we just called it choking, right? But it was just mental health stuff. And I just think maybe the way we're gearing this and the way we're pushing it into that professionalism, maybe we're not quite getting that right. And so maybe there's something that's speaking to that there, that Canada, because they're doing it in a way that is filling their cup, we need to make sure that we're still holding on to that when it comes to putting the money in too.
I love that. I feel like have you been texting Tinds? Because Mike Tyndall always says this. He says he played in the glory era when rugby just turned professional, and it still had all of that charm and all of that passion and all of that heart. What do we do next then? What is next for the global game? And what does it need to prioritize in the short term right now? If you were in charge, what would you do with Canada?
So I would be looking at their domestic league, right? And I do that everywhere because I think if, we talk a lot about the contracts and stuff for England, but I think the secret sauce has been the Prems. And I'm just saying that as a player that was my own experience, like what that did for my confidence. I didn't get paid anything. I had to pay subs, which I since found out was illegal, while I was there. But getting to play top quality rugby week in, week out for months on end, what do you need? You need reps. It helps you to give those reps to get your timing and stuff, but also to get this stuff, get your head right. And I think that's what I think we need to do. We need to really be seeding our grassroots so that beautiful things can grow.
Love that. Alice for president of all of everything. Let's quickly talk about this weekend coming up, the clash of the two tens and the different styles of rugby they play. Zoe Harrison, incredible game management, composure, effective kicking game, all of the right areas, even in awful conditions. And then Ruahe plays almost, like literally the opposite game, one of more structure, heads up rugby. What is your read on who's going to win out here? And is that your favourite matchup of the final?
It's a dream matchup for everyone, isn't it? Like World Rugby must be going, thank goodness. And everybody, I know England would have wanted to have New Zealand in the final. They would have felt cheated, I'm sure, if they hadn't got to play them at this tournament. Who do I think is going to win? I don't know, but that's also what's beautiful about it, because this is what we want to see, a contrast in styles. This is something that has been kind of falling away in men's game. It's become quite homogenous.
Make a call. Come on, don't sit on the fence.
Okay.
Score, buy, winner by how much?
If I have to, I can't vote against my people. So I'm going to say New Zealand. not going to get it's not going to be a penalty because we're not great at kicking. So I'd say it's going to be by 5.
I'm going England by 3 off the boot of Scarlett.
Because, yeah, you can kick. We have to run it. We'll have to catch a ridiculous... We'll have to do a Fijiana and score on the kickoff like they did against South Africa. Like, that's our Hail Mary. Yours will be working yourself in and making us cause a problem and then take the penalty.
Alice Soper, thank you so much for joining us. I wish we had weeks and months and years to listen to you, because the wisdom and the true passion and the heart and the love is just so obvious. I'm such a fan of your work, and please just keep going.
Oh, you can't shut me up. And hey, you got my number now. Happy to have a yarn anytime.
We will definitely be making sure that we'll hot up the line down to Alice Soapbox. Make sure you go follow her on all of the platforms. Great value. Make sure you head over to the Good, the Scaz and the Rugby as well. All of the drama of the tournament. We've got tons of stuff coming your way. We're chatting to fans. We're bringing you teams of the week. We're giving you a heads up on what to tune in for and when in your time zone. And my cat's made a prediction. Let's see if they were right. We would like to wish our own Scazzy legs just the best of luck from everyone at the Good, the Bad and the Rugby, and the Good, the Scaz and the Rugby, the entire wider family, and everyone who tunes in every week, I'm sure, regardless of which way you think this is going to go. I just want everyone out there to have the best game. Just go out there and play your heart out. We're proud already. We're so excited. We have goosebumps at the thought of this final.
Thank you to Alice. Thank you to Elma. The final is at 6:30 on Saturday morning. Good luck to our Scaz and the other Red Roses. Bring it home. Let's hope for a cracking game, and let's hope that England avenge the final defeat in Belfast a few years ago. Do you want to do bin juice? Have you got the energy for that?
I have, yeah.
Or do I say, okay, let's do bin juice?
I have. This is, I don't know what this is titled. We're just going to call it Broad Street. This is from the Juice. So the year was 2016 and the setting was Broad Street RFC, great facilities. Boop. It was a Tuesday afternoon and it was a big day for the non-23. Phil Blake was the Wasps defence coach, a small, crazy Australian, but a legend of a bloke. After the team from the weekend had their review, the main message for the afternoon session was keep their legs in contact and not accepting the tackle so easily. So whilst the bin juice were on the shields, Blakey pulled us all in and said, I'll fucking give a chocolate bar to whoever sits one of those cunts down. And just like that, we were given the green light. Bearing in mind at the time, in the mixed veg was the likes of Piers O'Connor, Will Stewart, Tom West, Jack Willis, and Tom Willis. Some serious talent who, without the invaluable experience of being on Team Turd, might not have been where they are today. Everyone starts in bin juice if you're any good. So the shots are flying in left, right and centre. Jake Cooper-Willie has been sat down by Will Stewart. Joe Simpson keeps getting hit late at the rucks and the session is getting super intense. With about 10 minutes to go, one of the academy lads has seen Cipriani at first receiver. He's about 6 defenders out at this point, so it'll be a very obvious late shot if he makes it. He's seen that it's his moment for glory, and he's taken it. He's flown out the line, cut all the 5 defenders off from the inside, and whacked Sips as hard as he could after he'd passed the ball. Sips stayed down. The first team erupted. They were fuming, couldn't believe what had gone on. You don't touch the fucking 10! After that late hit, the director of rugby canned the session, everyone went in. Once again, the bin juice had fucked up the session by doing what they'd been asked. However, they'd become anti-heroes and thus got their moment in the sun. The academy kid who smoked Cipriani got his Snickers and never looked back. That, ladies and gentlemen, is life in the bin juice.
How to fuck up the first team on an intentional...
That's what you do, though. But then one guy goes, that's what people don't understand about bin juice. Defence coach, right, fuck them up, kill them all. And the attack coach is like, right, just take it easy, don't get hit, make sure you keep driving your legs in contact. It's just going to be a recipe for disaster. And then as soon as you do fuck up the first team, the coaches then go mental. Why the fuck are you ruining the session? Because you told us to do it. Okay, you're being too good. What do you mean you're being too good? Right, that's it. You've ruined it. Stop running through the tackles. We've had that where the second team has beaten the first team on a Thursday. All confidence is destroyed. No, we can't. We're out there, and then it just turns into chaos, and then no one can understand why they're getting shouted at. You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. But when they're handing out chocolate bars, fuck him, and it's only Sips.
Does bin juice exist over the bridge?
So we called it Tesco team. Tesco value. Tesco value.
Yeah. Tesco.
So the year we won the league, the Tesco team were like invaluable. Like they were just like almost like they were just too good. And so yeah, it's Tesco we got it.
That's
I
why
love every little helps.
Danny Kerr, I reckon I cannot tell you the number of sessions that he ruined when he was on the non-20 or sort of in the finishers team or the non-22. He just cut them apart. Cut England apart at breakdowns, running past people, chipping people over the top, volleying it, running around and scoring. And everyone had to go for a quiet word. Danny, you're honestly ruining the session. Simon Shaw, when he was doing them all, he was like a monster in a cage. They used to reverse this lorry with his cage on it, let him out, the maul destroyer. So you'd have the first team to start playing against, say, South Africa. Simon Shaw pulls down 3 mauls within 3 seconds, turns over 3 lineouts, and the whole fucking session's gone. John Wells has gone, I don't want to say, Wells, Shawsey, stop fucking the session up. But he's doing what he's supposed to do.
You never get selected off the back of that.
You not really, no, because then you've ruined the session. All the other lads in the first team are like, why are you doing that? So Shawsey had to tone down the noise because he was too good.
Yeah,
too good at doing it. Danny Kerr had to turn down. Bin Juice have to sometimes turn down because you want them to be good, but for fuck's sake, not that good, which means they never get fully picked. It's really an awful place to be, the Bin Juice. But as the Juice says, get your moment in the sun, get your chocolate bar, carry on.
What I want for next week's Juice is you're going to do it with one of those voice disguisers
Oh, yeah,
so that we
fine.
can really properly hide the identity of who this person is.
Well, that wasn't. We don't know who that identity was.
We're getting some clues, though.
Are we?
Well, I presume that Bin Juice has played for Wasps.
Well, that was one particular story.
Oh,
The Juice gets his stories from all over the place.
Oh, I see.
He's a
Good.
global man. He's
Phantom.
He's in the shadows.
The phantom of
He's deep state.
training grounds.
He's Illuminati.
I love the concept of Cipriani being smoked for a Snickers, which is enjoyed in the dark arts and the back chambers of Bin Juice. Am I allowed to say that or not?
Well, I don't know, back chambers sounds very ominous.
Righto. Old days of the way. If you've got a Bin Juice story that you'd like us to get into, send it in to, is it binjuice@goodbadrugby.com? It is now.
I thought it was just info in it.
Info.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll send it to info@goodbadrugby.com, copying in binjuice@goodbadrugby.com, and hopefully one of those will get to us. Send in your Bin Juice stories, the tales of what makes rugby the sport we love. Submissions are open now. Let's move on to Amazon Prime Video segment, as it says in bold and red. Before we go, we're going to give our predictions for this weekend's Autumn Nation Series fixtures, which are live and exclusive on Amazon Prime Video. I got 4 out of 6 right last week, which is, well, that's fairly average. England let me down, obviously, and Fiji, who I thought were going to go quite well against Scotland. They did do just that, but didn't have enough in the end. So this weekend, we have got all of the games coming up live on Amazon Prime Video, as we said, and in no particular order, therefore. Let us start with Wales against Argentina.
Well, because Foxy's on, I'm going to say Wales are going to win. They're going to win by 5.
Yeah, it was 3 or 4, tight one, but Wales by 3 or 4.
I'll go Argentina by 7. Why not? Scotland, New Zealand.
I mean, New Zealand are going to pump them.
Go on.
But I just think they are.
By how many?
20?
Yeah, I think 20. Fox?
A bit closer because Edinburgh will be, shitty weather. Say,
Oh yeah.
New Zealand by 12.
Okay.
There's no disrespect for Scotland. I just think New Zealand. I think everyone's been lulled. This is like it's been, this sort of malaise that we thought crept over New Zealand. They haven't. They just had a couple of bad games.
France, South Africa. Interesting.
I can't call that because I thought France were going to do.
So did I. I went France by 20 over
Yeah.
Australia.
South Africa will be hurting as well.
Yes.
What's France's? Have they played South Africa yet on this
Not
journey?
since the World Cup. So this is the first game against the Box under Fabien Galtier.
See, this will be a great test. Interesting. This is where Sean Edwards will come to the fore.
Yeah.
This will because they'll because the physicality we saw with Ireland, we saw the number of injuries as well with Ireland. Robbie Henschel pulling out before the game anyway, and then a few injuries in the game and that real physicality. Let's see. This will be an interesting test.
Let's see is not an answer to who by how many.
Right. I mean, I'm going to say France are going to win because I don't want to vote against them.
By 2.
I'm going to risk it. I say South Africa by 5. Yeah.
I'm going to go draw.
Are you?
Yeah.
We do see many draws these days.
We don't see many draws, but why not? Rock and roll. Ireland, Fiji. Ireland by a handful.
Yes.
By a hatful.
Yeah, agreed.
You're not seeing an upset there? No.
Yeah.
England, Japan.
Well.
Danger. High voltage.
I mean,
Your old mate, Jamie Joseph.
Well, it's interesting because it's sort of, Checker got one over on Eddie. Will Jamie get one over on him this time? It's very weird that I would even contemplate thinking that Japan could win. but they are a very, very, very good side. And
it's like Donald Trump. I very, 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 very probably will run again to be US president.
I'm quite a big deal. I know probably more about rugby than anyone else.
Right.
I'm going to say England. I think there will be a reaction this week.
Yeah.
I think looking at the stats, I don't think it gave, the whole picture was shown on the weekend. I think it was actually a lot closer. I don't think there's any massive problems. I think Eddie will have an understanding of this Japan side and will make sure that England win, because I just don't think a loss is acceptable, really.
Yeah.
I agree. Definitely reaction, set piece orientated, England by 10.
But it could happen.
This is what we said against before the New Zealand game.
We were not far off, and it could happen.
And actually, the last time they played, Japan were leading at half time. Michael Leach was incredible. That was the game Danny Kerr and Alex Lazowski weren't seeing for us quite some time again. I do think England by 10. Saturday game, Hask on the decks, raucous crowd.
Yeah, we're going to borrow that roid sheep from Wales.
Borrow the roid sheep and get into
fireworks, job lot, wholesale fireworks, flags. If anyone's got a business, I'd say 80,000 of all of it. 80 tons of fireworks, smoke machines. Just hand out glasses to the old elderly. I think we'll be all right.
Right.
Free piss for everyone. Students coming
that
free.
That would make for a good atmosphere.
Well,
instead of £14 a pint, just open the bar and have a lock-in.
Just get a big trough and a straw and just send them all in.
God, it'd be fun if we were allowed in charge of Twickenham for a game, wouldn't it?
Imagine that. Going up. We need a proper, like you said, Bruce Buffer commentator.
Should we see if we can have a campaign for GBNR to do a Twickenham match day?
No, I would happily hype that up. I reckon I could plan it. I go, right, listen, can we have a bit of extra budget to plan this game, please? And this is how we want to do it.
Okay. Italy, Australia. They couldn't, could they?
What do you think,
Foxy? So good if they did.
Foxy's either got a twitch or his head's like, it looks like a nodding dog.
I'm trying to think. Go back and forth. I think Italy have improved a huge amount. But I just... Australia were good on Saturday, and I think deserved the win.
Pretty average against Scotland, though.
It's whether or not they can back it up after the disappointment. Like it's a great time for Italy to play them, because they would have put so much into that France game. So if Australia can back it up, I think they'll win.
By
be
more than 7.
I think Australia will win, but just like to play hypothetically, I think it'd be one of the greatest things that Italy could ever do to beat Australia. I think it would really finally stop everyone complaining about having them in the Six Nations.
Yeah.
In the Six Nations, I think it would just put them right on the map and really get everyone super hyped up.
But you're still getting Australia.
Yeah, I'm still getting Australia because I'm not completely mad, but I do believe that it would be good, wouldn't it?
Safe bet. I'll go Italy by 1. I'm just offering the antidote to the two of you. I think Australia will do it, but I would love to see Italy do it by 1. Enjoy the action wherever it is you are watching it. Italy-Australia kicks you off on Saturday, 1 o'clock in Florence. Ireland-Fiji, same time. England-Japan, 3:15. Wales-Argentina at 5:30 in Cardiff. France-South Africa in Marseille, which is one of the great venues. Love the Stade Velodrome. Scotland-New Zealand is on Sunday. Will Finn play? We shall see. Probably when we bounce not long after this is released. That is our predictions. We've done the details. Just a reminder, Autumn Nation Series games live only on Amazon Prime Video. Get stuck into that.
I thought Dylan Hartley was very good on the commentary, and his lid's looking good, tight. I thought he was good.
The lid looks fantastic.
Does look fantastic. He's very, very good at what he does, old Dills. Friend of the show, friend of the family, GBR.
Amen to that. It is November, and Christmas songs are creeping onto radio stations apparently and into shops. So it's time to start thinking about presents for the family, or even treating yourself. And you can do that via the GBNR t-shirts, hoodies, and caps available from our website at goodbadrugby.com. Office prizes, stocking presents, something for the loved one. You're modelling a t-shirt.
Yeah, I am.
Secret Santa.
Yeah. Secret Santa, that's what I was looking for.
People actually really like the merch, right? It's actually been flying out the door. Apart from the one bloke who wanted to take us to a small claims court because we didn't refund him in time.
Did we not?
No, I don't know. We have now, but quite an aggressive thing. Oh, I'm going to take you to a small claims court. All right. Sounds awful.
We haven't been to that. We only deal in hhh court cases.
I was about to say, that's the only place I haven't been sued, but let's go again. Give it a try. Surely the £4 you're owed, the amount of money you spent in the small claims court might be negated. Yeah. Just an idea, sir.
Don't worry too much about that. Lock-In is out, released this Thursday. That's our additional show where we talk about the guff and fluff that doesn't make it onto this, which is quite extraordinary because there's a fair amount of that on this show.
Yeah,
but hopefully you'll enjoy Lock-In.
But it is good, and it's available on Apple.
What?
It's available on Apple.
It's available on Apple.
It's available
what is
on
it?
Apple.
It's a podcast available on Apple.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a more deep, in-depth chat about what really goes on, what our real thoughts about things,
Right.
not the sanitized crap that we put out
We
to
need
you
a
on a
few more
weekly
details
basis.
about lock-in and how you access that, because it just says lock-in mentioned release Thursday. But
Yeah.
where it's released and who it's for,
released
I don't
on
know.
Apple,
Right.
right? It is behind.
Is it a separate audio stream?
It's a completely separate thing.
Right. Go and Google Good Bad Rugby lock-in, not lock-in.
And if you know, you know. If you want to try it, you want to try it. If you want to risk it, you want to risk
Right.
it.
We'll have a few more details for those of you who want lock-in next week. Do you know what I do want to finish with? In all seriousness, is Levi Davis.
Yeah.
Hopefully, by the time this goes out, Levi will have been found well and happy. And we've spoken to him before on the show.
Yes.
Massive fan of his, but he's gone a bit AWOL.
I sounded a bit like lighthearted about that because I tell you why. When I saw it yesterday, and I thought, because the poster that's been put together, the missing persons post, I thought what had happened was he'd been on a team social, got pissed up, and obviously not turned up for day 2. And they'd made up this like missing poster, and I was like, "Wow, these Bath lads, they're really going for it." And I was like, "Oh my god!" And I realised, "Oh my god, it's actually deadly serious."
Yeah,
and it's awful. So I hope anyone sort of can shed any light on it, find out where he is, speak to him if he needs help.
In Barcelona.
Yeah.
I hope that there are far more important people who are reaching out to him. I'm sure he's got a huge number of people waiting to hear from him. But if by any chance this helps and you are in the Barcelona area and you spot Levi, then please make him phone the right people. There are a lot of people who want to know that he's safe and well. Hopefully by the time this goes out, this is redundant and we have got him back where he needs to be. So Levi, people want to hear from you. Please make some contact when you can. Fox, lovely to have you on. What's up this week?
Training week. That's about it, really. No game for a couple of weeks. So I'll be in SA week Sunday. So down to Cape Town for a couple of weeks.
Jolly after
Send
another
us a
few,
postcard. Madeira. Where were you? Malaga to Mallorca.
I'll be. It's not tapas. It's Bry now. It's Bry in a couple of weeks.
Look after yourself. Thank you for coming on. Get back to what we do best. We will see you again very soon. Well done, Hoff. Anything dangerous in your world this week?
Moving house.
Moving house. That's very dangerous. My wife happy. Your wife is dangerous, therefore.
Very dangerous.
We've been the good, the bad, and the rugby. Vote for our boy in the jungle. Telephone number to be displayed somewhere appropriate. The show is produced by Shara Kilgallen and Ollie Hunter. The good, the bad, and the rugby is a Folding Pocket production. See you next week. Bye for now.